only is it your birthday, but you've also got a new musical based on your life. It was unveiled last night, went down an absolute storm. It's called Close Up, the Twiggy musical, and it's been written and directed by your good pal Ben Elton, the man behind We Will Rock You, of course. But it's been 20 years in the making, this. Why was now the right time to do it?
I'm not sure 20, but probably... People have been approaching us probably for over 20 years about doing it, but they either weren't the right people or we didn't like what they were doing. And then probably about 8 years ago, Ben, who's a great mate, we were out at dinner and I think we were telling him about somebody who'd come through about doing my life. And he said, well, I should do it. And I said, really? Are you sure? And he said, yeah. And then we kind of didn't really talk about it. And then, you know, and he's always so busy, you know, and he did We Will Rock You and everything, writing his books. Yeah. But I was so honoured that he wanted to do it because I think he's a brilliant writer. And, you know, he did Blackadder.
Yeah.
Oh!
I mean, I'm just...
An upstart crow, you know.
I'm just delighted that this is Seeing the Light of Day because I had him on the radio show and there was, you know, a year or two back and he was like, oh, it might be happening.
Yeah,
and
yeah. So number one, I was so honoured that he wanted to do it. And then he was meeting the Menio Chocolate Factory, which is where it's on at, which is a wonderful fringe theatre in London, and about something else, and that wasn't right for them. And they said, are you working on anything else? He said, well, I am doing this thing about Twiggy. Well, I'll do it. So that was like 18 months ago. So and now suddenly...
I mean, it's incredible.
I was at the first preview last night.
Yeah.
And cried through most of it.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Well, look, the show doesn't shy away from some of the difficulties that you faced growing up. I mean, how did you want to reflect that in the story?
Well, quite honestly, because Ben was writing it, and I think if somebody of his calibre is writing the script, you can't then go in and say, you can't do this and you've got to do that. And I probably did a little bit, but not a lot. No, it is Ben Elton's play. And it's really a play with music.
Well, and the music's fantastic, but it must be so emotional. You know, seeing your parents up on stage, your family.
Yeah, that was 5 minutes in. I started crying then when my mum and dad come on. And then, you know, through various parts of my life, because every life has wonderful things, like the things that happened to me, but they also have sad things, you know, and I had moments of wonderment happening and also, you know, relationships that didn't go right. But I don't want to give too much away, but...
yeah, I think...
Take your Kleenex!
Now, Twiggy, on the tunes, it's a jukebox musical.
It is.
Some incredible tracks in there, and of course, plenty from the 60s, such a pivotal time for music. I mean, how did you decide what to include? What's in there?
Well, again, Ben did it. He picked... I mean, there were a couple of songs that I didn't like so much, so he had a backup. And, no, we get... I mean, he's been fabulous through the whole thing, and he's been... very gracious to me that, you know, if I was really worried or upset, it wouldn't happen. And but, you know, I keep saying it is his piece and he's worked so hard. I mean, I do a podcast called Tea with Twiggy and he's been on, but I did my first live podcast on Saturday with him. It was really scary. We had him walking. And I said to Ben, will you do it with me? And I said, if I go a bit glazed, will you... Because Ben can, you know, chat.
Ben can talk. There's definitely...
I can talk, but he can really talk.
Yeah.
He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I just laughed. He makes me laugh.
Well, the thing is when people go and see this as well, is people do forget you were only a model for 4 years, you know, really. I mean, the other career highlights...
I was.
The other career highlights that you were really keen to include, I mean, what would you say they were?
Well, for me... I'm the proud... I mean, that was amazing what happened to me, but it kind of happened to me. But in the 80s, which is as far as we go, really, in the play in Close Up, I did a big musical on Broadway. And I didn't think I could do that, because to go out 8 times a week in front of 2,000 people on a Broadway stage, singing and dancing, that's scary.
No, that's proper scary.
But I had an amazing mentor in the guy who... directed it and starred with me, Tommy Tune, and we did it, and it was a big hit show. It was called My One and Only. So I'm kind of proudest of that because I didn't think I could do that, and it was a magical time for me.
It is so fantastic, and Close Up, the Twiggy musical, opens at the Meniere Chocolat Factory on the 27th of September and runs until the 18th of November.
Now we're going to be speaking